quantum physicist, consciousness researcher, and a quantum activist. Today's subject is what it is to be a normal human being. Now, of course, we may think a normal human being should be just as it says, normal, meaning even-tempered, happy more or less, right? Has control over everything. But look, this is not quite right. Brain is 5 times more negative than positive. It has negative emotional brain circuits built into it. Me-centeredness is a part of how our self comes about. We are compelled to constantly reflect ourselves in the mirror of memory. That's how we build our history. And that memory includes a lot of negativity. And it brings in a me-centeredness. Me. And we have all seen normal people very me-centered. Sometimes we call them narcissists. But does that prevent them to be normal? One would not have to go that far. Similarly, we see also people who are more or less happy, positive in their psyche. Abraham Maslow did say that there are people of positive mental health, just as there are people who are psychologically diminished. So it's not that simple, is it? The one thing quantum science is teaching us is to look at this in terms of a scale of happiness. Yeah, well, okay, there are psychotic people, their happiness level cannot be really talked about. Are they happy? One doesn't know. Most of the time they are in a different world of their own. So let's call it the base level, happiness level 0. And then we have neurotic people. With some help, a psychotherapist, they can feel quite a bit of normalcy. But the neurosis is chronic, so it comes back. And again, psychotherapist helps a little, again comes back. That's what chronic means. So not quite normal, happiness level 1. And then we can define normal as happiness level 2. Are there higher levels? Yes, there is. Sunita Patani, a psychologist, and I wrote a book called Quantum Psychology and Science of Happiness. We described all the levels of happiness from 0 to 6 in that book. You can read it if you like. But we did not do a very good job on normal. We passed it on too easily. That's level 2. There are, as I said, positive people. There are also people who are not so positive. Too much negativity, too much me-centeredness, too much pleasure-oriented, become addicted. But still, definitely, we would not necessarily call them abnormal, below normal. So it is best to keep the normal 2 and then try to define 2 plus, like more than normal, positive mental health, and 2 minus, a little less than normal, but not abnormal either, not necessarily needing psychotherapy to be normal every now and then. Happiness here, of course, means expansion of consciousness. That distinction needs to be made too. Happiness is not the same as pleasure. Pleasure is a molecular effect. Neuromolecules called dopamine, neurotransmitter molecules, they are involved in the brain. When they are existing copiously, we feel pleasureful. That's pleasure, molecular happiness. But then you meet a loved one and you feel an expansion in the domain of your heart. That's happiness. expansion of consciousness. You can include your loved one in your reckoning as part of you. That empathy is the ability that we call happiness. Momentary empathy, momentary ability of being empathic with another person. Quantum physics, we call it non-locality, non-local expansion, signalless communication between you and another person. That's happiness. Momentary. And then it comes back again to normalcy. But these momentary events, if it happens over and over, we say positive mental health. If it does not happen all the time, but happens some of the time, we can call normally happy. And then if it happens less than that, only infrequently, then that's the 2 minus. But is there any way of getting more concrete on this definition? I would say yes, there is. Actually, when we analyze people, we find that the self, a concept of subject, the experiencer, and the object that we experience. Consciousness consists of self and the object, both. Now this self, we normally think of limited to the brain, because that's where we experience the self. But some people talk about the heart. They experience the self also in the heart. Some people talk about navel, gut feeling. They experience their consciousness in those moments in their navel chakra. Chakras are those places where we have feelings. So there are 3 places in the body we feel, we cognize with. One in the brain, of course, that's the supreme one, but one in the heart, no less common, women especially, and no less common also in the middle of the body, navel. Body center. So we said there are 3 centers where we live. One is the brain center, the one is the heart center, and the third one is the navel center, body center. So these 3 types of people. If we take into account the fact that everybody also become creative in 3 different ways. One does not have to be creative at all. Inertia dominates. One can be creative in a situational problem-solving kind of way. One can also be fundamentally creative. Creativity is their being. So these 3 types of creativity and 3 types of self. 3 times 3 is 9. These 9 types of personality is called an Enneagram. You may have seen these personality types are put in a circle. We don't have to go into the details, just know that there are 3 of them belongs to the head center, 3 of them belongs to the heart center, and 3 of them belongs to the navel body center. This is the way the Enneagram is. And each of these Enneagram personalities are what we are capable of within the normal existence. This is what we can aim for. This is what we can be. This is the self we can actualize. What Abraham Maslow calls self-actualization. This is the one that we want to be. And Maslow thought that we want to be, we can be, and we must be. Self-actualization. So people who do this self-actualization, they are the ones that belongs to positive mental health. 2+. They are the Enneagram type of personality, and authentically, they are authentic in their Enneagram personality. But of course, majority of us cannot do that. We fall short, then we pretend a little bit. We are not quite living up to our model, to our hope, to our aspirations, but we try. When we fall short, we fake. We become a faker. That's the normal personality too. There is an Enneagram ideal that fits them, but they never can live up to that. They have allowed their creativity to fall short of the quality that they really should have cultivated, but don't. This is the way it is. In our development, there are stages, there are conflicts. Psychologist Erik Erikson gave us those stages, and every stage is defined by conflict. Some people make it up with the conflict because their creativity is intact. Other people fall short. They do make the initial effort, they do go through the hurdles of positive, coming out positive in the conflict, but as they become adult, other concerns like jobs and relationship take over and they fall short. They no longer can be said to be fulfilling that Enneagram personality, authentic Enneagram personality. They still belong to that category, but they're faking part of the time. That's the normal. And vast number of people will fall into this category. And then there are people who never qualify for the Enneagram classifications, who fall short. In quantum physics, we said that they never made the quantum leaps out of these conflicts that define our various stages of life. For example, one conflict that we all have is the conflict around the age of 5, goes on until 9. This is the conflict about autonomy. Do we get autonomous or do we fail? Everybody wants to be autonomous. I did myself. I am making my own decisions. Not depending on the parents so much anymore. My own decision. We want to be that, but suppose we fail. Suppose we fail. We don't take the quantum leap. What happens then? That's the point. A mystic calls this hole in the soul. We have a soul, that's how we build the soul. We take these quantum leaps and quantum language, these continuous changes, and come out of the conflict in a positive way. But some of us fail. Then you have a hole in the soul. That can be a hole in the soul in your approach to the brain self. There can be a hole in the soul in your approach to the heart self. There can be a hole in the soul in your approach to the body self, level self. Or there can be more than one hole in the soul. So, in this way of looking at things, there will be people who have holes in the soul. It turns out that in psychology there is a term for these people's behavior. They're called personality disorder. Personality is not quite up to the norm. Disorder. For example, you may have heard of narcissist. I mentioned it earlier, narcissist. That's a personality disorder. Schizoid, that's a personality disorder. In this way, people who avoid them, that's another personality disorder. Are they not normal, abnormal? No. They don't have a mental disease, mental disorder. They don't necessarily have to go to a psychologist to know moments of normalcy and happiness. They can live with it. But they have this extra me-centeredness. That's what makes one narcissistic. Not normal. They have their body centered, they're strongly focused at it, but they may not have any heart. They may have failed to awaken the heart, or they may have failed to awaken the brain self. Can one function without awakening a self? Yes, of course one can function, but one functions at the base level. All those negative emotions dominate the person. So you find the person with a lot of negative emotion, a lot of pleasure orientation, a lot of information processing rather than meaning. This is what happens, and these are the people who are two-minders. In this way, in quantum science, using quantum psychology, we are able to define the normal in a quite appropriate way. Normal means a very complex thing. This is the reason that psychologists have until now avoided talking about normal. It's difficult to say what normal is. Easy to say somebody is mentally disordered. Easy to say that somebody is mentally positive. But normal is difficult. This problem is solved by defining normal as having a range. 2+, who fits the Enneagram personality perfectly, authentic Enneagram personality. Not too many people in that category, but there are quite a few, maybe 5 to 10% of our people. And then there is the majority, 2. Not that category, hiding the personality, faking the personality a little bit, sometimes quite a bit, but still did make all the quantum leaps when they grew up. And therefore there is no hole in the soul. There is no personality disorder. And then there are people who actually did not pass all the hurdles properly and develop these holes in the soul, personality disorder. That's the 2-. So 2+, 2, 2-, this description fit the situation of normalcy perfectly. Okay? We have a program, master's program, PhD program, a training program where we teach transformational psychology, how to transform. If you are interested, you can come to our courses, and this is the kind of insight that we give you. How to be 2+, and then how to actually scale the happiness ladder. Can you be more than 2+? Yes, you can. You can be 3, you can be 4, you can be 5 by engaging with all of your experiences, especially the archetypal experience of intuition. That's how you scale the ladder of happiness. I hope you will consider joining our program, Master's, PhD, and certification. Thank you.
Where to find the program?
Where to find the program? The program is to be found in Amit Goswami.org. AmitGoswami.org. That's my website. You can find the program there. And if you want to write to us, it's info@amitgoswami.org. Thank you.